So first off, I just want to thank you for taking the time, Lieutenant Camarena, for meeting with us to get your vision, if you will, out to the viewers and to the voters. If you are elected sheriff of Santa Barbara County, you have a long history with the department, over 2 decades. So what is really convincing you that you would be a better sheriff than the incumbent, Sheriff Brown?
Well, right now, the way I see how the department is, and not only the department itself, but how you see the community. I mean, right now, we are coming out of this COVID pandemic, and during the last 2 years, been some challenging times, not only for law enforcement, but also for the community. And it seemed that now that everything's opening up again, people feel that they're behind, and they want to do so much. And we have changed, and these last 2 years have changed the community, have changed society, how we do things. And the reason why I'm running it as it relates, like, what can I bring, is, our current leadership been there for so long, and sometimes when you're in a position for so long, you have a stagnation, or more become stagnant and become reactive to things. So now that you had this 2 years of somewhat lockdown, and now you're opening a new chapter, you want to come in with a fresh approach, fresh ideas, not only of what we have gone through, but also if you have to look towards the future, because generations, we have newer generations becoming adults, becoming contributors of society. So the way they were raised, the way they think is a lot different than several years back. So you bring this fresh approach, you bring fresh ideas and new ideas.
And you kind of just touched on it. I want to ask you, in your opinion, currently, what do you think are the department's 2 greatest strengths?
The department's 2 greatest strengths, number one, is its people, its personnel. The deputies, the men and women of the sheriff's office, whether you're a deputy, whether you're a custody deputy, support staff, that is one of the strongest, how would I say it, the strongest points of the sheriff's office, because they go on and beyond the call of duty. And when I mean they go on and beyond, currently we are understaffed. We have been having a chronic understaffing, and the men and women of the sheriff's office are always making sure that the mission gets accomplished. Whether it's in the jail, whether they have to work 2 to 3 overtime shifts extra, they want to make sure that the inmates in the jail are not only protected, getting the services they need, but making sure that their counterparts are also safe. And the same with the deputies out on the street. So, we're understaffed, working a lot of overtime, which could really cause stress on the workforce. But they're responding to the calls, and anytime there's a crisis, they are going to step up and respond.
And on the flip side, and you kind of touched on it there, the 2 key weaknesses right now with the department.
The one of the weaknesses is the chronic understaffing, and that, it's not only at the sheriff's office that you're seeing it, but it's throughout different industries. You're seeing it. So when you have that, you want to make sure that you need to start thinking about innovation. Like, what is our mission? What do we want to accomplish right now? We all know that we're going to keep hiring, we're going to keep recruiting. We eventually want to bring our numbers back up to where we are to make sure that we could provide this services. But now we have to kind of refocus and say, okay, what's our priority? We have to triage what's happening now, and as you know, there has been a uptick in violent crime, and that's what we could do. That's where we are the experts as it relates to the prevention of crime, the enforcement of the laws, even intervention. So we have to kind of refocus and saying, okay, this is our priority right now, while we refocus how we deploy our resources and bringing the community as part of our support. In other words, having the community be part of the solution, then we could refocus, slow down violent crime, while at the same time continue recruiting and hiring, and at the same time we're rebuilding that trust with the community. For the last several years, we've been having civil unrest, protests, this demand for change, which created this perception of lack of trust between the community and law enforcement. And when you create a negative perception, even though it's not true, but when something is perceived, sometimes it's people's reality. So we need to make sure that any perception is not negative, that it's actually positive.
To what extent did the back-to-back disasters of the Thomas Fire and the Montecito mudslide impact your decision to run, or was it something else that sparked your decision?
Those two tragic events, that wasn't the reason why I decided to run. I saw first that our department was starting to become stagnant, that we were not moving forward, that we were not innovative, that we were just doing things the same way over and over again. And last election, the sheriff said that was his last term, that he wasn't going to run again. So when he said that, I start making my research and start getting the wheels in motion, and I had made that decision. And earlier we were having a conversation about courage and going after what you believe, and at that point I had made the decision already. And when I spoke to the sheriff regarding my decision to run, I basically said, I'm going to do it, because I feel that this is time, and especially coming out of this COVID, we want a fresh approach, and we want to make sure we keep moving forward, and we could survive any challenges that is ahead of us, especially in the 21st century.
What is your approach to dealing with and curbing the use of illegal drugs, particularly opioids and fentanyl in Santa Barbara County?
So you have to look at it from two different approaches. The first one, you have the people they sell it, the people that they contribute or distribute opioids. And we in law enforcement, we have to focus on those individuals and really follow up and see where this is coming from, and try to prevent these opiates to be available to those individuals who have this drug addiction. Those that have a drug addiction, law enforcement, we're not the experts. So that's why we need to make sure that we have collaboration, we have partnerships with community members, nonprofit organizations, other experts, outside experts, to help us understand addiction. Because we could go and arrest somebody who has an addiction, but is it really working? Is it really helping that person? Going to jail, you might be in jail, you might try to go to some programs, but they go through the programs, they get released, and then they go back, and then they go back, and it's like this revolving door. So the way I look at it, we have to just focus on those individuals who provides it, who sells it, and then have partnership and collaborations to how we could help them not to fall back in that revolving door.
What needs to be done realistically to tamp down the local homeless/mental health crisis?
Well, like I mentioned, we have to have a partnership. And when I say partnership, law enforcement only has a seat at a table. We need to bring the outside experts to really understand homelessness. Like I said, we in law enforcement, the only thing we have is incarceration or making arrests or putting a Band-Aid to the problem. We need to bring the outside experts. We just have to be a partner and bring the other experts like social services, behavioral wellness, fire department, nonprofit organizations. And we have to work together and have a plan. And then once we have a plan, we have to strategically keep just on that plan. One of the things that I want to do is create like a task force where it's being led by maybe a homeless advocate, because they understand the problem better. But they have fire, they have law enforcement, they have social services, and then work and constantly do this follow-up with the homeless community to see, okay, what can we do? So they say if you have John Smith, let's work with John Smith. What does he have? What does he need? What can we do? And then just one at a time, because just moving a homeless encampment from one place to another is not really solving anything. You just have to kind of get to the roots of it and really start working together.
How do you tackle hiring challenges to bring in qualified employees to oversee both the jails and local communities?
Well, like I mentioned to you before, it's about rebuilding that trust between the community and law enforcement. You want to open your doors to the community, and the community has to be a voice for you. You know, when the community trusts you 100% and supports you, then they could be the voice and help you do like a word of mouth to get more people to apply. But from the human resource side, you have to look at it, what's a workforce, the generational workforce, because as you know, every 4 years you have a new generation. And when I say a new generation, is every generation communicates differently. And so you want to make sure that how you're going to attract that generation, because that's the future. If their belief is about not chasing people or being around where it shows being in action, you know, with a firearm or arresting somebody, but maybe showing something more as a, you know, what we do in law enforcement is not arresting people, it's to help people. So in other words, giving a different vision of how law enforcement is going to develop or evolve, and to make it sure that is you want to make a difference, this is what you could do. But not only that, is having a way that you could not only reach out to them and say apply, but through the whole process have like a mentor. It's more of a mentorship pathway, because you have to understand the generational. When I apply, there was about 1,000 people applying, and nobody in the department said, make sure you do this, make sure you do. They just gave you the instructions and you follow. But as you move different generational, now it's different, because how things have been taught in school, how things have changed, their perspective, it's a little bit different. So they're expecting, okay, I want to get a better direction, be more of a guide. So it just is changing the ways to bring people based on their generational beliefs.
Do you feel that Santa Barbara County has sufficient community oversight with regards to the Sheriff's Department?
It's a kind of a hard question, as you say, about community oversight. As you know, the sheriff is elected by the people, and if the people are not happy, then every 4 years they have the opportunity not to elect them again. However, I've been asked before, what do you think of having an oversight? And I always say that as any elected official, it doesn't really matter who it is, whether it's a sheriff, a city council, a board of supervisors. I think that if the community, because we work for the community, we're public servants, and if we're not doing our job and they feel that they need to have an oversight to make sure that we're doing a job, then I invite that. Because when I become sheriff, I'm going to do everything I can, not only to work with the community, but put my focus in Santa Barbara County. You know, be available, always be at the forefront of change, and work with the diverse communities throughout the county.
Your number one goal, if elected Sheriff of Santa Barbara County?
My number one goal is reduce crime. Right now, violent crime is up 10% countywide, and property crime is up about 14%. And because I have worked throughout the county, I have worked in Carpinteria all the way to Santa Maria, and I've learned that each community is different. They're diverse. Not what we do in Goleta might not work in Santa Maria. So my goal is to reduce crime. We have to start slowing down crime to make sure that crime doesn't get out of control. And if it gets out of control, it's going to make it a lot harder for us to control it. And what we don't want to see is what we're seeing down in LA. In LA, you started with civil unrest, and then some laws changed, and now you start seeing violent crime has rise. You have the smash and grabs. Well, they have come to Santa Barbara. There's been some smash and grabs. In Northern California, you got groups, the criminal element going into brand name stores, breaking the jewelry vanity and taking all the jewelry. It has happened here in Santa Barbara County. So it's reducing crime is my number one goal. At the same time, building the trust with the community. At the same time, improving our technology to keep ourselves accountable and be more transparent.
Okay. Lieutenant Camarena, I want to thank you so much for taking time again to sit down and talk to us. Is there anything last that you would like to add?
Yes, you mentioned why am I running, but the reason why I'm running to rebuild the trust between the community and law enforcement, to reduce crime, improve our technology to be more transparent and keep ourselves accountable, and make the sheriff's office proactive, efficient, and innovative. All right, thank you.
All right.